walkety whack, abracadabra, shrink in size, very small. We've got to save enough room for all. Higgitus, bigitus, bigitus, mum,
Hey everyone, it's Jonathan and welcome back to the Disney Movie Marathon. Today I'm joined by Mark and Stanford and we're going to be talking about Walt Disney's The Sword and the Stone. Disney's The Sword and the Stone is one of those classic animated films I watched a bunch as a kid. It was never a favorite, but I liked it well enough. It had a lot of memorable scenes that I've been excited to revisit now, having not seen it in years. Some were just as great as I remembered, and some weren't. I asked Mark and Stanford to join me on this one, as they're both big fans of classic Disney, and Mark in particular really loved this one growing up, so it was a lot of fun to talk about it, from our own memories from childhood to what we think of it now, to the artists and voices behind the film. We also talked for over 2 hours, so if you want more from our conversation, there is an extended cut over on my Patreon podcast feed. Most of the extensions have little to nothing to do with The Sword and the Stone, but we had a lot of Disney-related tangents that were fun, even though they didn't really have much to do with the topic at hand. But I wanted to make sure to save them for those who might want to listen in on those conversations. Okay, let's get on with The Sword and the Stone with Mark and Stanford.
Bigitus, mum, prestidigitoni!
So, how familiar are you guys with this one? Was this one you grew up with?
Yeah, I did grow up with this one. I watched this one a lot growing up as a kid, and it was always one of my favorite Disney movies, one of my favorite Disney canon films, especially, and it was always in my top, 13. Right now, I'm trying to pull up my most recent ranking to see where I had this at exactly, but yeah, it's something that I really, really enjoyed growing up.
Yeah, I also was very familiar with this film. Can't remember the first time I saw it, but I was definitely as a kid, and always was a big fan, particularly of Merlin. And I know we'll get into some more specifics, and as an adult, I actually have a copy of the novel upon which this is based by T.H. White.
That's cool.
But I haven't read it, but it's in my queue. One of these times I'm going to just, I keep picking other things to read, but I totally want to read it.
Okay, so I found my ranking. Currently, it's at number 26. This used to be in my top 13, and there's a reason why it kind of dropped down to 26, but I mean, it's still one that I really enjoy, and we'll talk about the reason. I think it's a reason all three of us will agree, but overall, I do like this one.
Yeah, this is one that I was pretty familiar with. It's not one that I feel like I watched a ton as a kid, but I know I watched it enough times that I was familiar with it going back now, and I remembered a lot of it. There are some things I didn't remember, like I didn't remember the whole opening with the narration and like talking about the land going into lawlessness or whatever.
The song, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't remember that. I remembered everything with Merlin and all of his stuff turning Arthur into things to teach him lessons, question mark.
Good.
Well
said, John.
Mediocrity. look before you leap, and
being mean to girls.
Being mean to girls. But I really like the opening ballad, and this was the Sherman Brothers' first work they did for the animated Disney canon, and I really like their songs, and I won't say this isn't their best work, but it is one I really enjoy. I enjoy the opening ballad. I enjoy Higgitus, Figgitus, Migitus, Mum. I used to watch that on repeat a lot as a kid, and Merlin's magic bag where he could shrink everything down to size and put it in his bag. It's like a running joke in my family. My dad would always make a reference to Merlin's bag. It's like I feel Merlin and Mary Poppins bought the bag at the same place.
At the same place. I was gonna say yes, like the Mary Poppins bag. Right.
There's some emporium in the world with these bottomless bags.
I kind of had that same thought as I was watching it tonight. I was like, this is oddly similar to Mary Poppins.
Yep.
Except with Mary Poppins, we never see her actually pack it. Well, I guess at the end of the movie we do see her pack, but she doesn't actually shrink anything.
Yeah, hers is kind of like a TARDIS. It's just bigger on the inside.
Yes. Perfect.
And I think both Stanford and you mentioned were referring to it too, but for me, Merlin is probably one of my favorite Disney characters of all time.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's enjoyable. He's cantankerous, but enjoyably cantankerous. But he's also he wants to quote unquote teach Arthur or whatever it is he wants to teach, and he has patience, but like up to a limit, of course. And blow me to Bermuda. I love that part. But
Yeah.
yeah, he's definitely one of the more underrated Disney characters, I would say. So I really liked when they had that Once Upon a what was this called? The short with all
Once
the
upon a
characters.
studio.
Once Upon a Studio, thank you. Yeah, I really liked when he appeared in that.
Oh yeah, he's got a great little cameo, whatever you call those appearances, right in that short. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say he and Madame Mim are my favorite characters from this.
Oh my stars! See that wizard's duel, as I can just
Yeah.
watch that over and over and over. I think that's probably my favorite sequence.
Oh, definitely. Mine
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
I was gonna save this until we got there, but yeah, for me, my two favorite Disney sequences in any Disney film are the jailbreak scene from Robin Hood and the Wizard's Duel in this movie. These are my if I had to
Nice.
rank. It's hard for me to pick which one's one and which one's two, but those are my like top two from the entire Disney canon.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's a good scene.
yeah. Agreed. Absolutely. I think for me, another real strength. I think that the character design of Merlin really is one of the strengths too, just because he looks so. I think
Hmm.
he just looks so great. Just I love that color of blue that he's
It's
in,
a very
and
nice shade, yeah.
it's just yeah, and the design is so simple, but that's what makes it so great. It's so elegant, and of course, great facial expressions from him and his great beard and everything. I think just really appealing.
Yeah, because like he looks like a Merlin, but like you could also tell he doesn't look like any other Merlin you've seen
Yes,
before as well.
Hmm.
exactly. Yeah.
I wonder, he was probably like one of the Merlins that people think of when they think of Merlin. So maybe that's why he
Right?
looks like a Merlin, is
Oh
because
yeah.
he was one of the originals.
That we that's just the one that we kind of gravitate to, right? You just associate that's who, yeah.
That's a good point. I wonder what was the first portrayal of Merlin in a film?
That is an excellent question. I was thinking the same thing. There's got to be some live action films or someone that portray Merlin. I'm picturing definitely not that shade of blue, but maybe that kind of hat, right? And the beard. But then maybe I'm also just thinking of Dumbledore, or something.
Or in any sort of wizard character, really.
Yeah, yeah.
I can't remember if Merlin actually is a character in Camelot, with the movie with Vanessa
Oh,
Redgrave and Richard Harris. I know that
yeah.
I know he's a character that King Arthur like talks to, but I can't remember if he actually
Right.
like exists or not, or if he's just like talking while thinking of him.
That's a good point. If he's right. Did you ever see that film Excalibur?
I didn't see that.
That was I think it was in the 80s when that came out, or maybe late 70s. Maybe I only saw it once or twice, and it was, of course, many, many years ago. And I can't
Mhm.
remember if Merlin was in it or not. Seems like he would be though, because it was kind of was focused. That film was kind of focused on the mysticism of pulling this, Arthur pulling the sword out of the
Yeah,
stone and all this stuff. Well, hello, we're given the title of the film too, right?
yeah.
Hmm.
Excalibur. You hope that that's what it's about.
And it's not even called Excalibur in this movie, is it? I can't remember.
I don't think they
I
mentioned,
don't think
yeah.
they said it.
I don't think
Yeah.
they said it either. And I guess what we're talking about, I think too, the next to the Wizard's Duel, my favorite, if you can even call it a scene, but when Arthur pulls the sword out of the stone, I
Hmm.
I love that how that's
It's a very
animated.
majestic scene, yeah.
It is, and the beautiful lighting and just it's
The
it's
choir, who
yes.
I think he can hear, which I think is freaking the owl out. Archimedes is like, don't touch it.
I love Archimedes as well.
Yeah, Archimedes
Yeah.
is a terrific character.
He's one of those like lovable grumps kind of
Yeah.
characters.
Yeah.
So he and Marlin are like a good pairing.
Yeah. And he's a cute owl. I love owls in movies.
Mm.
Yeah, he's a really good owl. I agree.
Disney has like a few owls because they have Archimedes, they have Owl and Winnie the Pooh, they have that sing along songs owl whose name I forget.
The
Then there's
owl in Sleeping Beauty.
the Owl
Yes,
Sleeping
the Owl's Sleeping
Beauty,
Beauty.
Friend Owl, and is there Bambi? What did I come with? I
Oh
can't
yeah, yeah.
remember the owl.
Snow White probably had an owl. I can't
Yeah, there's
remember.
probably an owl with
I
her
think
forest.
so.
Yeah, her
Yeah.
forest friends. Yeah.
Oh, Big Mama in The Fox and the
Oh,
Hound.
see, and the fox sound.
The accordion owl in the Tulgey Wood of Alice in Wonderland.
Oh
See,
gosh,
yes.
is that in the same species? I don't know.
I mean, it's close enough to an owl.
Alrighty. Owl is
Yes.
an owl.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, wow, they really like Disney has a lot of birds, but especially owls, you know.
Owls, they're memorable.
I guess they make good characters.
Yeah.
Like even in fiction, like fables and stuff, you always have an owl character who's, at least
Well,
in the Western world, is very wise or
yeah.
something.
Hmm.
Harry Potter, they deliver whatever they deliver the mail. Whatever, don't they? Is that
Yeah.
what?
Well, I didn't know until I started researching for the podcast. Disney had planned on making this early on. Like, he got the rights to the book in
Yeah, pretty
1939.
early, yeah. Mm.
Oh wow.
So it took quite a while for them to actually make it because this was, what was this one, 69?
63,
Yeah, this was the last.
if I'm not mistaken.
This was the last
Okay.
animated one.
Was it
Well,
65?
fully. I think 63.
63.
I think it
Yep.
was 63.
Yep.
You know, and it was interesting to me I had forgotten, John, the time, that I knew that it had been in development for quite a while at Disney. Because one of the really probably my main complaint about this is the story. That's why I've
Yeah.
been really wanting to read the book, because I think visually it's such an appealing movie, but I don't really care for the story that much in the
Yeah.
film as it's portrayed in the film. I think there's so much time spent with Wart, as an animal that he's kind of lose.
When I was watching it for the podcast, I was pretty invested for the first part. And then as soon as he turned into a fish, I was bored.
Yeah,
And then I was
exactly.
kind of checked out for most of it until we get to Madame Mim.
Yeah,
And then I was back in. I loved her scene. I forgot how great she was.
Yeah, that scene is just it's so fantastic. Yeah, I'm with you because the fish, the squirrel, like
For me, it's the squirrel scene is what like takes me
ugh.
out of it. That just like comes to a standstill to me. That's the main reason why this dropped
Yeah,
so far
I,
in my
I,
ranking.
I, I'm with
If
you.
that wasn't there, it would be much higher. I like the fish scene and I like the bird scene, but the squirrel scene that just goes on for
I'm with you, Mark.
a
Yeah.
while.
Yeah. Because like with the fish scene, I was kind of bored. When the squirrel stuff started happening, I was actively annoyed.
Most befuddling thing. That's a song we don't hear a lot.
No.
Uh, yeah. I like the Sherman Brothers are great, but I feel like most of the songs in this movie are very forgettable. Higgins Figgis was good, and I enjoyed the Madame Mim song while she was singing it, but I can't really remember a lot of it.
Yeah.
It's more the song is more about just watching her be weird than it is the song
And the
itself.
lyrics, yeah. I actually really like the fish song. Like that's one I sing a lot. Like, yeah, don't be a mediocrity. Don't just wait and something's up to you how far you go. If you're something you'll never know. And so, my lad, as I've explained, nothing ventured, nothing gained. Like I like that song actually.
Nicely done. I'm gonna have to re-listen because I just do not. I mean, I remember it, but not specifically.
Yeah.
So thanks for the reminder, Mark. Seriously, that's really the lyrics are good, aren't they? They're
No,
clever
yeah.
and meaningful.
hmm The Madam Mim song, I don't like Madam Mim as much as you guys do, but I her song I think is the first Disney villain song where the villain actually sings it about herself.
Is it
Okay, I think the next one is Ratigan when he
really?
sings "The World's Great." I think so, because Cruella de Vil, she doesn't sing Cruella de Vil. If I'm
No,
not
you're right.
mistaken.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Maleficent doesn't sing about herself, and
hmm Snow White, no, the Queen, she doesn't
no,
sing.
no,
Lady Tremaine doesn't sing.
Yeah, well,
no.
that'd be something if they. I mean, so I can't picture her singing.
No, me neither.
The weasels don't sing in the wind and the willows. But yeah, I think Madame Mim was the first one in the canon to do that. My favorite, I was telling Jonathan about this earlier, but my favorite line in that is when she's doing all her magic tricks and she's like, "Do you want to see me make myself look uglier?" And he's like, "That'd be some trick." That was my favorite line of the whole movie.
That's great. That dynamic between Merlin and Madame M, that's so brilliant.
And I loved her follow-up line to that. Aren't I a hideous boy? Perfectly revolting.
I love how annoyed he is when he storms in, ma'am. You could tell they've been enemies for a long time.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
They seem to have kind of like a Looney Tunes nemesis dynamic.
yes, exactly. which I think is part of the great appeal, don't you think?
Ooh,
Yeah,
that Wesco-y witch.
because like they kind of act like they want to kill each other, but also I don't think either of them ever would kill the other one. They seem to be enjoying the duel too much.
Yes.
Yeah, I guess he mad at me. I'm like torturing Marlin. Like, I don't know if she would actually go so far as
Yeah,
killing him.
she would kill him. Exactly.
She like keep him in her dungeon just to have and torture.
If she offed him, she wouldn't have anybody to play with. She'd miss him too
Right.
Exactly.
much.
Right.
It's like Moriarty with Sherlock. He can't kill Sherlock because what's he gonna do next?
Precisely.
Or Rattigan and Basil.
So how much do you guys know about like what went into making this?
Uh, Not much besides like I know they bought the rights early, and the Sherman brothers were involved, and that's pretty much it. I don't really know a lot about the production history.
If I'm not mistaken, John, Walt Disney put one of his artists in it. I can't remember. It's not Walt, was it Walt Paraguay? There's probably something you can help clarify this. It just seems like not that it was languishing, although it might have been because it was in development for so long, but
Yeah.
all I think is really moving forward is this something I've drawn a blank on the name of this artist. Bill Pete, possibly.
Yes. Yeah. That's like the most notable thing to me because I've mentioned it in previous podcasts, but Bill Pete was one of my favorite authors growing
Oh,
up.
he's
And
the author guy. Okay.
yeah, and I'd had no idea that he worked on Disney movies when I was a kid. Like it wasn't until years later I saw his name in the credits and I was like, wait, isn't that the guy who wrote those books I liked when I was a kid?
And sure enough, it's the same guy, right?
Yes, it was. And you could really tell with a lot of this. Like as I was watching it, I was like, the illustration style of so much of this looks like Bill Pete's books. There were certain points I was like, that is a Bill Pete character. And if it wasn't, he trained everybody to do his style perfectly because there was so many things that just looked like straight out of one of his books.
John, will you remind me of what some of those books are? And because I can't remember if I have read them or read any of them or not. I probably did as a kid, I would think, maybe.
The one that I remember the most was called the Wingding Dilly. It was like a mixed up creature, but he also had other books about like just made up animals.
And they were all illustrated, I take it, right?
Yes, so
Okay.
they were kids' picture books, like
Okay.
with stories and maybe rhymes. I can't remember if there was rhymes or not.
Then interesting. So he's got this very distinctive style that in his writing and illustrations that really came through for you in the film.
Yeah, yeah. The just certain things they just had a look because I read a few of his books so many times. Like he wrote a lot of books that I've never read, but there was a few that our library had that I borrowed multiple times. I remember the Wingding Dilly specifically, and there was one about a zebra, I think called Zelda, Zack, and Zodiac. And I'm trying to remember the name of the one where it was all mixed up animals. I'm gonna find it so that I make sure to mention. Oh, No Such Things. That one was my favorite because it was just like sort of a dictionary of like impossible creatures.
Yeah, I hadn't heard of him being an author until you had mentioned it, Jonathan. So I didn't grow up with his books.
Yeah, he wrote a lot of books.
So, yeah, I'm surprised. You'd think I'd seen at least one.
What was his career like then at Disney, Jonathan? I mean, could you help remind us of that? Because again, I had read something about it at some point, but clearly,
I
um,
think
I don't have it.
we'll probably get into it more when we get to the Jungle Book because I think the Jungle Book was at the point where he left
Oh, okay.
because he was having some issues with certain things. I think a lot of his treatment of the Jungle Book ended up getting thrown out and replaced, which he was not happy about.
Yeah. And maybe there was some stuff, I can't remember if like Floyd Norman talks about some of that, since Floyd had a big role in the Jungle Book and was talking. Anyway, interesting though, fascinating.
But yeah, I know there was a lot of issues with this film in the first like 2 decades as they tried to get it made. Like they were going back and forth apparently between this and an adaptation of Chanticleer, which
Oh
that
Oh
yeah,
never
yeah, I
ended up.
remember. I
right.
remember that was big in their planning stages. Yeah.
Yeah, and that never ended up getting made, and they opted for this instead, which I think annoyed a different artist. I can't think of who it was because he ended up not being the one who was in charge. Bill Pete was in charge of this one.
Mm. But Don Bluth gave us Chanticleer.
Yes, which I haven't seen that yet. I'm gonna watch that for the podcast eventually.
Rockadoodle
Yeah,
for those listening.
Yes.
yeah.
Ken Anderson and Mark Davis were trying to do Chanticleer,
Mm.
and they, along with Milt Kahl and Wolfgang Reitherman, spent months putting together elaborate storyboards, and eventually it was cut. I don't think Disney even really liked it that much.
I
And
think
I
that's
think
the best. That was the better choice. I think Sword and Stone would have made a better, more entertaining film than Chanticleer would have.
I feel like I would have to see the treatment to
Yeah.
decide because like as much as I like parts of The Sword and the Stone,
Hmm.
as a whole, it's not a favorite of mine.
Yeah, no, fair enough. I like it more than I would say the average person. But then again, it's also number 26 on my list. So make of that what you will.
There is a lot to like about this movie. It just doesn't really come together into a cohesive whole for me.
Yeah, same for me. And the squirrel scene.
And the squirrels, yes.
Yeah.
If they cut that scene, I would love this movie very much.
Yeah, I'd like it a lot more too.
Was there anybody in the cast that really stood out to you as somebody that you definitely knew?
Well, I love a lot of the voice actors because I mean you have the the visuals. You have Sebastian Cabot. He was the I think he was the narrator as well, but he also voiced Sir
Yes.
Ector.
Yeah.
The I guess I never really knew what he was. I guess he was the ward of Arthur.
I guess he was like, I think he was supposed to be like his foster
Father.
father.
Yeah, that's what something like that.
Like they don't really explain what happened, but
Yeah,
for whatever reason, he's basically his dad, but not
yeah.
legally.
Not not biologically at
Like they
least. Yeah.
didn't sign adoption papers.
If they had that at that time,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, I recognize his voice. I mean, I knew his voice, and I always enjoy his stuff. And for me, the guy who voices Merlin, he's really good. I forget his name, Carl Swenson, I think. But I think what I know him best from, other than this, is there's an episode of the Andy Griffith Show where there's a character named Mr. McBeevy, and Andy Griffith's son Opie meets him, and he's like a what do you call it? Like someone who works on like telephone lines, and Opie meets him in the forest one day working, and he tells his dad about Mr. McBeevy, and earlier that morning, or his dad had given him a big lesson in lying and how lying is bad. But the way Opie described Mr. McBeevy, it sounds like he's lying. So it's like it's very interesting episode where it's like daddy has to try to believe his son, even though what he's saying just sounds like a make believe lie. But basically, that's the only thing I know Carl Swinson in outside of the voice acting this.
None of these actors other than Sebastian Cabot really stand out to me. Although looking at, the IMDb page for the film, I recognize these actors.
Mhm.
I love old movies. I watch Turner Classic Movies all the time, and just to see some
Yeah.
of these character actors, that are in some old movies, and I think also from old TV shows too. So yeah, that's fun. But in a lot of ways, I feel like these weren't just A-list actors, although I thought they did A-list performances. The
Yeah,
voice talent's really
because
great.
because they were character actors, and most of them,
Yep.
I'm sure, started on radio. Like they were the best type of
Yeah,
voice actors to
exactly.
have because radio, in essence, is voice acting.
Yep.
Hmm.
So, also Junius Matthews, who voices Archimedes, he voices Rabbit in the Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh.
Yes.
I don't think I didn't write that down and it didn't even register, but yeah, I can hear it now.
Once you may mention it, you can't not hear it.
Yeah.
And Wart, Will Arthur, famously, he has like three different voices in this movie.
Yes, which I didn't realize when I was a kid, but listening to it now, I can definitely tell there's multiple people voicing him.
And I like to play a game, see how many times Arthur says "whoa, whoa, whoa" in the movie. Besides Madame Mim, there really isn't like a female character. Like there isn't. Arthur doesn't have a love interest. Well, besides the squirrel, I guess.
Yeah,
And
and the squirrel gets a voice credit.
oh yeah, yeah.
Ginny Tyler.
Ginny Tyler, and I recognize her headshot that's on IMDb. I just can't remember where else I've seen her, how I learned about her.
I guess there's a scullery maid also, if you count her.
Which I think is done by the same person who did Madame Mim.
Oh, okay, nice. I mean, she only has like one line, so it makes sense.
I can't remember where I read that. So it may not be true, but it's not because it's not on the IMDb page. But I'm pretty sure I read that it was. I do know, and it is confirmed on here, that she also voiced the elderly squirrel who is attracted to Merlin. That part is the only part of the squirrel scene that I actually laughed at when he turns back and she screams, just her reaction to him and the abrupt scream. That I laughed
Madam,
at.
madam, I'm a scratchy, grouchy, old, ugly old man, or whatever he said.
Yeah, whatever the line is.
That too.
That's
I
it.
also really liked his line when he was yelling at the squirrel. I think I even wrote it down because I did actually laugh. There, you see, I'm an ugly, horrible, grouchy old man. And then she screams. And I didn't even notice, but Alan Napier was Sir Pellinor. He played Alfred in the 1966
Yes.
Batman.
Batman. Yeah.
After Ravenscroft, he voices one of the I guess knights who was participating at the end.
Yeah. I heard his voice. I was like, there he
You
is.
you can't miss his voice.
Right. It's so
Yes.
distinctive. Yeah.
I also like the character design of that character that he voices. It's like he's like a really like it's like a manly man.
Yeah. And can we attribute a lot of these character designs to Bill Pete, do you think?
They have they have his style. Like if you look him up on Google and look in the images and see like the pictures of the books that he wrote, you can see like shades of his style in the different characters in The Sword and the Stone. I feel like The Sword and the Stone, more than anything else that we've seen that he's worked on so far, has his style.
That's so interesting.
It'll be interesting when we get to the Jungle Book to see how much of his style comes through or how much he was involved in the style. Because, like I said, that's the point where he ended up leaving. I don't know if he got to the point where he was like actively developing the movie characters before he left. Because I know it was his treatment of the film that was basically scrapped.
Because they also wrote like a bunch of songs for that sequence, for that first treatment, but they were all scrapped except for the rare necessities.
Yeah.
But like on one of the DVDs, they have like demo recordings of all the songs, and some of them are pretty like good.
That's right. I remember.
I liked one of them in particular, but I can't remember the name of it now. But you could tell it would definitely have been like a more darker film.
Yeah, if you look up Bill Pete and look for the book Cowardly Clyde, that to me just looks like this movie, especially the horse. Like there was a point in this movie where a horse came on screen, the point where Kay is starting his training to become a knight. I was like, that's a Bill Pete character, that horse. And then I re-saw Cowardly Clyde when I was looking, and I was like, yeah, that's it's not the same horse, but it basically looks like the horse.
Oh, I see. Yeah, I'm looking at the drawing now.
Yeah, same.
I thought it was kind of interesting. Like there was a little bit of the backstory on Wikipedia where it was talking about while he was trying to write it. And like I haven't read the book that this is based on myself, but when Bill Pete was trying to write the screenplay, he found it complicated trying to like turn the book into the movie because apparently the Arthurian legend is woven into a mixture of other legends and myth, which he felt complicated things. So I don't know how much of the book even really made it to the movie. Like I need to read the book so I can figure that out because I need to
Stanford when he's done.
Exactly. This is giving me incentive to finish this book.
at some point I would like to do an every version ever series on just Arthurian myths. So at that point I really should read this book.
Yeah.
Oh, it was like the Arthur legends and Camelot and stuff related to it.
There's a bunch of Disney versions too. There's like, what's the one by Mark Twain? I know a Connecticut Yankee.
King
Connecticut
Arthur's
Yankee,
Court,
King Arthur's Court.
I think there's at least two versions of that in Disney's lineup, like the Kid in
Yeah,
King Arthur's Court, and
there's one in the 70s called Unidentified Flying Oddball.
yeah, like I feel like that one had
Yes.
two titles, but that one I had on VHS.
Okay.
That was like I watched that a bunch growing up. I'm sure it does not hold up because I read a review of somebody talking about it. I was like, this sounds like it's more bizarre than I thought I remembered, but everything they were saying was like, yeah, I remember that. So it'll be
Yeah,
interesting to revisit that one for sure.
I watched that from the blog, and yeah, it was pretty bad.
Yeah, I remember it just not being good at all.
Well, I haven't seen the Connecticut the when they did the 90s, the Connecticut
Yeah,
Yankee King Arthur's Court, but
I can't remember that one. I probably saw it, but yeah, I don't remember.
but interesting is the actor Ron Moody is in both films.
Oh,
Really?
really?
Yeah, I think I gotta check this out, but if I'm not mistaken, I think he plays Merlin in both of the films too.
Oh,
Let me check that.
interesting.
Really?
Yeah.
I gotta
hmm
check. Merlin
Yeah.
in Unidentified Flying Oddball was evil. I don't remember
Yeah.
him being evil in A Kid in King Arthur's Court, but that I think I only watched
Yeah.
once.
He
So
plays him in he plays Merlin in Unidentified Flying Oddball,
That's
and
so
he plays him in the
interesting.
sequel. Not the sequel, the other movie. Yep, same character. Yeah.
I wonder if they did that on purpose or if it was coincidence.
Yeah, I had no idea.
Oh, I forgot. He was also Fagin in Oliver.
Oh yeah, that's what I know him mostly
Oh,
as. Yeah.
that's right.
I haven't seen that
Okay.
since I was a kid either.
I recently I was on that was on Turner Classic Movies not too long ago. I hadn't seen that for a long time.
There's some really good songs in it. I like that.
Yeah, it's a great musical, good film
Yeah.
adaptation, I think of it. Yeah.
Anyways, back to Pete trying
Anyways.
to write the movie. I was going to also mention that after Disney got the draft of the story, he told Pete that it should have more substance. And he then lengthened the second draft by elaborating on the more dramatic aspects of the story. And I'm like, where's the
Like what?
substance?
Squirrel. It's
What
the
what
squirrels.
what was the story before?
It was just a squirrel. That's probably all.
Like if this is the version with added substance, I'd hate to see how thin the
Ooh,
plot was for the original.
the original one, right?
I think this is the only Arthurian movie I can think of where it's about Arthur as a, young being educated by Merlin. I think everything else I've seen or know about Arthur's already old.
Yeah, I can't think of anything right off the top of my head where Arthur is
Yeah.
young.
Yeah, I can't either.
The origin stories.
And the gravitas in this, if there is any, which I don't really think there is, but I mean, I think you feel a lot of sympathy for Wart.
Mhm.
He's got that horrible Livy's,
Situation,
situation that he's in, and I think again the way his character design is, he comes across as sympathetic, but I don't know. And there's the squirrel scene, then the good feeling's gone. Yeah,
yeah, that just kills everything.
yeah,
But yeah, it's like you could see his character being pulled in somehow. It's like he wants to make his father figure proud, and he wants to
yes,
be a good page or squire or whatever he's supposed to be. And
Hmm.
at the same time, he wants to, make his mentor Merlin proud, and
yeah,
take up education and not just physical. Being able to one dummy knock another dummy off a horse, as Merlin describes jousting. But
Hmm.
and so like when he cries at the end when Merlin gets mad at him, like you kind of feel that.
yeah,
Mm.
yeah,
Yeah, I like these characters. Like even though this is not one of my favorite Disney movies, it's not for the characters. Like I like the characters and I would like more of these characters.
yeah.
I just wish they had a better story to be in.
Yeah, I remember when I did my Talking Disney episode with Rachel about this. Rachel, one of the things that she really didn't like about the film, and I agree with her. And again, it's all focused on kind of the squirrel stuff, but there's so much time spent as an animal, but we don't really learn truly what the lessons are that Merlin's trying to teach him.
Yes. Yeah.
And from Rachel's perspective, and I would agree with her that would have made a better film if it were really clear what kind of like morality or values or whatever Merlin was trying to instill in him through that experience. At least
Yeah.
I think I agree with her.
Yeah, you kind of just have to take Marlon's word for it. He's like, "Oh, the first message is brain over brawn." Okay, great. I
Yeah,
totally got that from the fish scene.
yeah.
I feel like that was the lesson of the final boss fight
Final
with
boss
Madam
fight.
Mim.
Well, Walt didn't do anything in that one. He just spectated.
Yeah, that's right. He was just
That's true.
watching this go down. Yeah. Which I don't think he grew it. I don't think Ward grew it anything other than just like maybe mad respect for Merlin for
Yeah.
outsmarting her.
Yeah.
I always loved that ending. I thought it was so clever of turning into a germ.
Turning into a germ.
Yeah.
I know,
Like,
brilliant.
like I don't know who wrote that, but I don't know if that's from the book originally or not, but
Wow.
whoever wrote that, like that's really clever.
And that's one of the things that we wonder, like, hey, is Madam Mim in the book? And if so, like,
I'm
do they
pretty
do
sure she's
this?
done like this.
Do they do this crazy duel? I'm not sure. But anyway, again, gotta read it.
Yeah, one thing I've heard, and I agree with it, is like the wizard's duel scene is like a master class in character animation because no
Yes.
matter
Yeah.
what animals they turn into, you could still see Merlin, something about Merlin in whatever animal he's turning into, or something about Madame Mim in whatever animal she's turning into.
Her hair,
Her hair, yeah.
Yeah, and
It's not just, and the
the
eyes,
eyes.
eyes too.
yeah,
Well,
Yes.
and the color,
color, yeah,
Yeah.
that
She's
helps.
usually pink.
right. And he's usually blue, right?
Did I
Yeah.
say no purple dragons? I like how there's rules and she breaks everyone. No disappearing, no turning into pink dragons and make believe things like pink dragons and stuff.
Yeah, it just makes her even more despicable. Yeah, that she's breaking all the rules.
Also, like when Archimedes has that like laughing attack when Merlin's plane just crashes, his model plane just crashes into the rocks below.
One thing, and again, not to take us off topic, but I'm just being reminded. I was thinking of that opening sequence, and with the song, the legend, the song, how when England was young, that Ivan Earl, who was the credited as the color stylist, but really like he was the art director of Sleeping
Yeah.
Beauty.
Mhm.
That I think he also did some work on the Sword and Stone because particularly I think it's just again you can tell with some of the backgrounds. Does that ring a bell? Am I off the mark on that one? I really do think Ivan Earl contributed to that film, but I could be wrong because I can't remember what year he left the studio, and maybe he
Yeah, I'm
left
not
after
sure.
Sleeping Beauty.
I didn't see him mentioned on the Wikipedia page.
Okay,
That doesn't mean that he wouldn't have been involved in some way because I don't know what the production looked like, but since it was in some state of development since 1939,
Mhm.
I can imagine that he maybe had done something. And even if he didn't directly contribute in some way that would get his name in the credits, I'm sure they learned from his work on Sleeping Beauty and followed some of that because this is another medieval type
yeah.
tale.
Mhm.
Again, I'm just picturing, particularly when Ward pulls out the sword, there's just something about that. Maybe it's just like the look of the
Like,
rocks of the
very
building,
tapestry like.
Yeah, that it looks really seems like that would be something. Anyway, I digress, but that is something, again, just that I love the look of the film so much. That's probably the thing I enjoy the most about it.
Yeah, the film looks very good. Like I said, the most problems with the film is just the story. Like the art direction is great, the voices are great, even though there's a case to be made for Wart slash Arthur not being the greatest since he does not have a British accent and he's voiced by three different people. But other than him,
John. Details, John.
other than him, I love everybody else's voice, and he's not even bad. Like I watched him as a kid, and that didn't stand out to me. So I think it's just as an adult picking out, like, oh yeah, he doesn't have a British accent, but it doesn't strike me as something like bad. It's just not correct.
Yeah.
I wasn't very fond of the voice of Sir Kay because it's an American guy doing a British accent, but I really never liked his British accent. It's just felt forced and fake to me. So his voice is probably the one I would, besides Wart's three voices, I would say Sir K. Sir K's. I guess he was. Is he Sir? I don't know. Well, K's voice is the one
I
Yeah,
think
that
he's a
yeah,
I
sir at
didn't
the
like
end.
at the end. Okay.
Think so?
yeah. That seems right.
Yeah, yeah. His voice always just kind of put me off, but besides that, I liked everybody else.
Good point about the American accent though with
Mhm.
Ward.
He he's just as British as like Mowgli was supposed to be.
Right. And it seems like happens a lot. Just in Hollywood movies, like some people are speaking with a British accent and some aren't. And what's the rhyme or reason behind it?
Well, also Winnie the Pooh, I think is technically supposed to be British. The
All
whole,
right.
and I don't know that there's that many actual British voices in it. I need to rewatch it to see.
I think it's just Owl really, and that might just be what do you call it? A mid-Atlantic transatlantic accent, if not mistaken.
Probably. And
It's
I
just a
think
posh
I
accent.
think I could be wrong, but I feel like I read somewhere that even though it's British, they were still trying to make it American. Yeah, because they added Gopher, because Gopher
Yeah,
is not in the book,
he's down in the book, you know.
and he
Right.
would be an American animal. So maybe that was on purpose. Maybe it wasn't really a mistake.
I'm trying to think, when was the last time Gopher was shown in any Winnie the Pooh related thing? I'm guessing the TV show in the 90s.
I haven't watched a whole lot since the 90s, but I remember
Mm,
watching the show all the time as a kid.
yeah,
So I remember Gopher strongly from the show,
yeah.
but
Yeah.
I don't feel like I've seen him in anything since, but I haven't
Mm,
watched a ton since.
I watched the Book of Pooh when that came out, and I don't think he was in that, if I'm not mistaken. And I don't think he was in any of the films that came out after that, because I still kept up with them. But I could be wrong too.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know.
I'll figure it out eventually because eventually I'll watch all the Winnie the Pooh stuff.
Getting back to Sword of the Stone, I think this was one of the ones that they said they were gonna remake eventually or working on or
Yes, I
something. I
I
don't know.
I wrote that down because they had announced a live action remake almost 10 years ago now in July 2015. I'll
So
I'll
hard to think
just
how long has been this period. Sheesh.
I'll just read the sentence from Wikipedia because, like, I don't know who any of these people are. A live action feature film adaptation entered development in July 2015 with Brian Cogman writing the script and Brigham Taylor serving as producer. By January 2018, Juan Carlos Fresnadillo was announced as director. The next month, the film was revealed to premiere exclusively on Disney Plus. Enrique Chediak joined to serve as the cinematographer in September, while Eugenio Caballero joined as the production designer in December. In a March 2024 interview, Fresnadillo announced that the film had been placed on indefinite hold by the studio. And that's all it says.
Wow. Well, clearly, Disney's determined to do a live action, quote unquote, remake of any of their animated films. So
Yeah.
it's inevitable, I'm thinking. But unless they have a change of heart, which I pray often that they do.
Like Hunchback, for example, they changed their mind on that because they figure that's not going to work very well in modern sensibilities, I guess. And Pocahontas, they said they wouldn't ever do a live action version of either. So hopefully, Sword of the Stone, they won't touch either.
Or if they're going to do a remake, make it better.
That's what I was going to say. I feel like of all of the remakes that they could do, this one is one that I feel like would make sense, but don't remake the movie. Like go
Yeah.
back to the book and start over. Like
Yeah.
It'll
make
just be an
make the
adaptation of the
movie
book.
this should have been. Yes, another
Yes.
adaptation of the book, which is what I feel like the best of the live action remakes are when they do their own thing, like readapt the source material. Like Cinderella was basically a new version of
Cinderella.
Cinderella.
Yeah.
It wasn't a direct remake of the Disney Cinderella. It had some nods to it, but it was its own thing. And I feel like if they do that with Sword in the Stone, this could work.
Yeah.
But who knows if it will because it's on indefinite hold, whatever that means.
Exactly.
So we'll see how Lilo and Stitch does.
When was the indefinite hold to?
March 2024, so last
Yeah.
year.
Yeah, because when Bob Iger came back and kind of did more cost cutting about a lot of the Disney Plus stuff, you just
Yes.
wonder if that could have been
I'm
part of
I'm
that, and we can be grateful.
if they're going to do it right, I'm hopeful that the indefinite hold thing is to give them time to get it into the schedule as a full-on theatrical film, like actually make a good movie.
Yeah.
Like, no, don't do a whole Disney Plus thing. I'm over Disney Plus. Like, I like Disney Plus as a place to watch some stuff, but stop putting so many original movies on there. Like,
Right.
if for one, it gives them an excuse to cheap out and make it a lesser film, but two, like, you're not going to make enough money even if it is a good movie.
Yeah.
Also, a third horrible option is that the movie can just be taken off for tax cutting reasons, like Timmy Failure.
Yep.
Like, that movie is gone. And also that one, the
Raiders.
Crater. Mark and I were going to
Yeah.
do that for a podcast, and then it was gone.
It was gone.
Took it
Yeah,
off.
it vanished. Yep.
And because it's never been on DVD or anything, there's literally no way we could ever see it unless someone like had a
Had a copy of it.
copy or something.
Yeah. So I'm over Disney Plus. Stop doing Disney Plus. Like, don't get rid of it because I want to be able to watch random Disney cartoons.
Yeah.
It's
like-
good as a library to
Yes.
have. And
Yeah.
that's what it should have been, I think.
Yeah. And you like an occasional live action or animated TV show made specifically for Disney Plus. Sure. But like, stop doing the movies for Disney Plus because it's not going to make money and you're going to just run the movie into the ground because you don't have money to actually make it.
Right.
Pinocchio.
Yeah.
Oh, see.
Yeah.
Well,
a
you know,
perfect example.
Peter Pan and Wendy, like
Yeah.
we talked about. We'll see what happens with the remake, right? If whatever surfaces.
Yeah. I hope it'll be good, but if it ever happens, we'll see. I guess we can go through the movie and talk about the plot, what little plot there is. I feel like, again, like I said, I was at the beginning, I was invested, but I feel like we only got the beginning of a story because you had the beginning and then the middle where I was kind of bored. And then at the end, I felt like the story was just getting going and then it was over. Because like I like these characters, but yeah, we said, we opened with the narrator talking about how the king had died, the land was descending into lawlessness, and they received a miracle in the form of the sword and the stone.
Whosoever pulleth out this sword, something came.
Yeah, but it also said that nobody could remove it, so everybody forgot about it. And I was like, okay, what? Like, why would they forget about it? Like, how long did this sword sit there?
A long time.
So how long was this land without a ruler? Like, I'm sure that there's debate on how much of like Arthurian legend is actually historical. Yeah. I can't imagine that there was actually a long period of time where there was no king at all. I feel like that had to have been made up for this movie.
Only if they were like weren't united as one, unless they were just like warring tribes after each other. I could see that.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that if they invented that for this movie, I think they just did it to like explain the Dark Ages, because I think they had a couple of comments about Dark Ages. So I don't know. I'm not a Dark Ages expert, so I don't really know everything that happened at the time. Then we were introduced to Merlin and Archimedes. Merlin is waiting for someone that he doesn't know, which is Arthur, who we see hunting with Kay. And I thought, I had to laugh because they're hunting Bambi's mom.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not literally Bambi's mom, but like they had to have reused some Bambi's mom animation because that was Bambi's mom.
Bambi takes place in England. It's canon now.
Right.
I mean, the original book was in Europe, so
there we go. Then Arthur falls through the roof.
Yeah.
Yes. After being chased by a cartoon wolf who does not feel like he fits into this semi-realistic world. The wolf is like the most Looney Tunes character in all of this. Like there's so many scenes that feel like Looney Tunes, but as far as like character designs, this wolf feels like a Looney Tunes character.
Like Wile E. Coyote, like one of the thrown away, discarded designs or prototypes, I guess.
Yeah.
It's super cartoony, isn't it?
Like a lot of this feels like Looney Tunes, and I have to imagine they were somewhat influenced by the popularity of Looney Tunes at the time, because I kind of feel like that's kind of what happened with the story, because it feels like a bunch of cartoons one after the other, because it's very episodic. Because like this whole sequence kind of feels like a cartoon where we learn about Merlin and he's doing his magic and you get introduced to his impudent piece of crockery and the Higgidus Figgidus song.
Figure this, man.
All of this feels very Looney Tunes.
It does. One of my friends always thought that the Sword of the Stone would, or has for years, that this would make a great theme park attraction, particularly that Higgins Figgins scene. Wouldn't that be fun to
that'd be
ride
fun
through?
scene,
That
yeah.
would be fun to ride through
Yeah.
that. Yeah. He showed me some sketches that he'd done on it. And I thought, yes, that just sounds so cool.
That'd be so awesome.
Because I love the movie, and that just would be just so fun to see.
Hmm.
Not that I want a live action version, but I want like a theme park. I'd take a theme
Theme
park
park version.
with an audio animatronic done in the style of the animated film.
I used to rewind the Higgins mom scene a lot because I just want to hear the song again in the sequence. I like especially the ending when it's like coming to like a crescendo and like everything just comes one by one into his bag. I wish it was a bit longer. That's the only thing I wished about that.
Yeah, it's because you're right. It's so fun. You don't want it to end. Huh. It's so delightful.
Like this, the Sherman Brothers have like a couple of songs of like I guess magic incantations or something. So they have Higgidus Figgidus and they have Substitutiary Locomotion in Bedknobs and Broomsticks.
I love that one. That movie is probably one of my favorites.
Nice.
I'll be excited to get to that one in the podcast. I watched that one even more than this. Like that was one of my favorites growing up. I loved that movie.
That's a good one. It is. I like it a lot.
But after this, we learn about his family and that he's, for lack of a better term, adopted.
Yeah.
And it doesn't seem like his family like mistreats him, like not to the level of like Lady Tremaine and Cinderella, but they don't like treat him well. His dad won't listen to him. He sends him off to help the cook.
Yeah, it's not like a horrible situation.
Yeah, it's just not ideal.
Mm-hmm.
But I liked the scene where Merlin is introducing himself and it's displaying his power.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, my favorite part is when Sir Ector tells him to be gone and he immediately disappears.
Yeah.
Like the comedic timing was perfect.
Yeah.
And I also like how he relents, but then he just never gets his name right and always calls him Marvin.
Marvin. Yeah.
Yeah.
He gives him the random tower that's like half broken.
The best room in the house, which is a
True.
dilapidated tower.
Holes all through the roof.
Yeah.
And I also liked the scene where they're trying to like stick it out in the tower while it's raining. And then they hear somebody coming and Merlin wants Archimedes to go down and listen in. And he refuses until Merlin threatens to turn him into a human. I liked that was the horrible threat that made him obey.
You wouldn't dare.
Didn't want to be human.
Yeah.
But the person he's supposed to be listening to is Sir Pellinore, who's there to announce that there's a tournament coming on New Year's Day, and the winner is going to be crowned king. And for whatever reason, he thinks Kay could be king. He doesn't seem to have a kingly bone in his body, but sure, whatever.
Okay.
Exactly.
That just sounds wrong.
I like that later on in the movie, I think it was Sir Pellinore again, just seemed he didn't think that this is a great idea. Even though he's helping, you could tell he doesn't believe that this is a good idea.
Like Kay is king or something like that. Yeah. I think he shudders, if I'm not mistaken.
But at this point, Arthur is made into his squire, which Kay is not enthusiastic about. And then this is where you have the training montage, which the horse, this is where I was like, this is Bill Pete. This horse, this is a Bill Pete horse.
He's going up against like a mechanical, not mechanical, I guess, but a makeshift jousting knight on a horse.
Yeah. And then this is where the movie basically lost me because for whatever reason, I don't understand. Merlin decides that Arthur needs to be a fish. Okay.
He has to teach him, man, the lessons
that we don't know what they are.
We don't know what they are.
Again, how to break young girls' hearts.
I remember watching this multiple times as a kid, and I don't remember being bored, but as an adult, I was bored. Maybe it's because they made this part for kids. Maybe kids like this. I don't remember thinking one way or the other as a kid. Like I mean, obviously, I wasn't like analyzing the film as a kid. I was just watching. So this is just what happened. But I feel like because this was never a favorite movie as a kid, even though I liked it well enough, I kind of think that maybe like subconsciously I knew this wasn't amazing. I just enjoyed it for what it was and moved on.
Mhm. But that was what scary looking barracuda.
I think it was a pike. I think
A pike
barracudas are
or whatever
ocean
it was.
fishes,
Yeah.
but either way, it was the same type of giant, long, toothy fish.
Yeah.
Mm. And I like how like he's chasing barracuda's chasing Arthur as a fish trying to eat him, and Merlin just won't like he won't do anything until he's like, so have you learned the lesson? It's like, yeah, I've learned the lesson. And then it's like, okay, fine, now I'll help you.
I feel like Merlin was kind of useless in these lessons that he was trying to teach because Arthur would get in trouble and somebody else would have to save him.
Yeah.
Like Archimedes saved him here, and then when he gets turned into a squirrel, the girl squirrel saves him.
Mhm.
That was the only part that made me not annoyed by her was when she saved him. And then she went right back to being annoying.
Then she meant to be annoying.
I think that's one thing I liked about this Merlin character is like he's also like forgetful and like doesn't he's not always like sure about the right thing all the time.
Well, yeah, yeah, exactly. I like that too, Mark, that
He's an old man.
Merlin's just not just noble, noble and good. He's kind of, I don't know, mischievous, but there's some other traits, that yeah.
A flighty old man.
Yes. Yeah.
What's that Latin business?
Or just as he describes himself, to the squirrel lady, the big the mom.
An ugly, horrible, grouchy old
Yes.
man.
Yes.
That's my Tinder profile right there.
Exactly. I
Somebody
mean,
should do that. I feel like if that was somebody's profile on a dating app, that would attract the kind of person they wanted to attract. Like they'd see it and
exactly.
laugh.
Like swipe right if you get this reference.
Exactly.
Even if you didn't get it, I feel like that's a hilarious thing to put as a dating bio.
Mhm.
An
Oh,
ugly,
yeah.
horrible, grouchy old man.
Perfect.
We should also mention too, in between the fish and the squirrel lessons, he's punished for lying. He
Yes.
didn't lie, but he thought it was a lie about what was going on, and he's supposed to be washing the dishes. But Merlin enchants the dishes to wash themselves, and then they go out to do the squirrel
And then they
adventure.
go do have the squirrel thing. Yeah.
I also like that scene because like I was like, oh, I want an automatic like kitchen
I
cleaner,
know. I want like the
dishwasher.
magic cleanup duty.
Until they all attack you.
Yes, that was AI before we knew it.
Yes.
I should also say, like, I don't know if this is just me, but did anybody else think that the girl squirrel sounded like the squirrel in The Emperor's New Groove? I kind of wondered if maybe they were inspired by this scene.
If they were
I can't
inspired by it,
remember.
that is a very good observation. I need to I wouldn't be surprised
It's been a couple years since I've seen Emperor's New Groove, but just when she started talking, I was like, is that the squirrel from
because you know what it is. It's
Emperor's New
just that
Groove? Yeah, yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
I can't remember what the squirrel sounded like.
Oh, the squirrel in Emperor's New Groove is that's one of my favorite.
Yes.
Uh, with the
I
balloon.
I haven't done a Disney ranking. I will eventually, but I feel like Emperor's New Groove is going to be way high on my
Oh,
list.
I love it. Speaking of Looney Tunes, I mean,
Yes, yes.
that's just, I can't believe that Disney even made it.
Yeah, me too.
But I love it. I mean, I was gonna say I'm thrilled they did because I just
Yeah.
think it's a kick.
The thing that everybody always talks about with this scene is the end. Like they're so sad about the girl squirrel. And like, yeah, but like she was annoying, so I'm not too sad. But I did find it interesting that as much as I was annoyed by her, they did manage to make you feel at least a little sorry for her. The way she runs away in terror is like fully sobbing
Mhm.
in the tree.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think that's probably the one that gets me is the sobbing in the trees. Think, oh, I mean, really, she's really sad about this, and that's, you know,
Well, you also had Merlin's line earlier about like squirrels only choose one mate for life or whatever. So like, is this squirrel doomed to be alone for the rest of her miserable
Right.
life?
She was in love with the wart squirrel, and there can be no other.
She just has stories to tell all her friend squirrels for the rest of her life.
That's right. I was in love once.
Let me tell you what happened. Don't trust squirrels. That's all I got to say. They may not be what they seem.
Yeah, they may not, yeah, be who they seem.
And I don't know if you guys saw it, but in the beginning of the movie, when we see the forest for the first time, there's a scene with a squirrel, and I'm pretty sure that's just recycled animation from one of this scene. I don't know if it's Wart as a squirrel or her as a squirrel. I think it's Wart as a squirrel.
I wondered about that. Like it looked to me like it was supposed to be the wart squirrel,
Yeah.
but it wouldn't make
Yeah,
sense because that wasn't happening at that time. I mean, there's more squirrels than just
Yeah.
these two or three or whatever. But yeah, I don't
The
know.
animation was just used again, I think.
It probably was just reused animation,
just a reused. Yeah,
which I think there was multiple instances of that. Not just like the Bambi's mom thing, but like the scene where Wart falls down the stairs. I'm pretty sure that's just the same Wart falling down the stairs animation twice.
Yeah, and the same whoa, whoa sound.
Yeah.
right.
I like when then I think that's when the maid comes out screaming that the kitchen's bewitched.
Yes. That part, that was where I was thinking that it was like I read it somewhere that it was the same voice actress as Madame Mim, but her voice, if it wasn't, it sounded a lot like her when she was so upset about the bewitched cleaning supplies.
I think Wikipedia lists two actresses for her, so maybe they shared the lines.
Well, let me go back to my notes because I wrote down two people. It was Martha Wentworth and Barbara Jo Allen,
Oh,
which
okay.
Barbara Jo Allen did. Who was she? We talked about her in a different episode.
She was a lady, Sleeping
Was
Beauty.
it?
She was one of the
Oh, was she one of the
fairies,
fairies?
if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, was she Meriwether? No, it wasn't Meriwether.
Oh, was she like
Fauna.
Fauna? She was Fauna.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fauna, yeah, the green one. Yeah, Barbara Luddy is Meriwether.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that's right. Thank you. Yeah.
Anyways, at this point, she's freaking out. Everybody's freaking out about the bewitched brooms and mops and brushes and everything. They freak out on Merlin. He's insulted and disappears. And Arthur tries to defend him, but he's punished for this. And he's stripped of his squirehood. And they give it to somebody else.
When he cries again, you could like feel for him there.
Yeah. And the person they give it to, I don't think we ever see.
No, his name is Hobbs, but they never see him at all.
Yeah, he's just an unnamed plot device. An unseen plot device, I should say.
When I started my blog, my project was forgotten minor Disney characters. So I would go through the canon and pick one character to talk about who was a forgotten slash or minor character from the movie. So I talked about Hobbs for Sword in the Stone. It's like this poor guy, we never see him. He's promised a squire to be a squire, then all of a sudden at the end of the movie he doesn't get it.
He gets mumps or whatever, and
Yeah.
then he doesn't get to be the squire anymore. But then Merlin returns later that night and tries to make things right. He talks about giving Arthur an actual education and appoints Archimedes as his teacher. And at this point, it seems like he's going to actually teach him some useful information because they like have the alphabet up. He's learning to read because apparently he can't read, which I guess makes sense for the time.
Mhm.
But it ends up just being another transformation lesson because he turns him into a bird and tells Archimedes to teach him how to fly. And then, of course, he has to get attacked by another predator. There's a hawk this time, but I can forgive that because it leads to Mad Madam Mim, who is my favorite character.
Because we all, yeah.
Yeah, she's the best part of this whole movie. I just loved her. Even though like I can't remember a lot of her song, it's more about the way she says it and all of the like her relishing in being evil and ugly and wishing for like she hears him being sick and she's like, "Oh, I hope somebody's really sick." Something like that. And it just the way she talks is she's kind of like reminds me of Witch Hazel in Looney Tunes, and I love Witch Hazel.
Yeah, yeah.
I love like cartoonishly evil people who know that they're cartoonishly evil and love being cartoonishly evil.
Mhm.
And I think too, after, the horrible squirrel sequence, it doesn't save the film, but it's such a breath of fresh air, you
Yes.
know, just to have this crazy witch and that just amazing sequence, you know.
Yeah, because like I said, I was kind of bored with the fish scene, and then I was actively annoyed with the squirrel scene.
Yeah.
And like I was mostly checked out of the movie. Like I was still like taking notes and whatever, but like I wasn't like having fun. I was enjoying it as a oh yeah, I remember watching this as a kid type thing. I wasn't like enjoying the experience of watching it as an adult. It was just, yeah, I guess I gotta watch this. It could be worse. This is the point where I was like back into the movie. I love this.
Yes. Yes.
This is like a lot of things have felt like Looney Tunes in this movie for better or worse, but this feels like Looney Tunes in the best way. Like the whole thing, the Merlin coming to rescue him and doing the wizard's duel. It's Looney Tunes. It's crazy and hilarious and creative, and the animation is great, and so many character designs for all the things that they turn into. But like you said earlier, it still very obviously reads as the character that it's supposed to be. Like if they do a live action remake, it can't be anything as good as this. Like there's
No,
no
heavens,
way.
no, there's absolutely no way. Yeah.
Who would you cast as Madam?
Ooh, that's a good
Oh,
question.
good
Let's think
question.
about this because it'd have to be. Would Kristen Wiig be good? Like I love Kristen Wiig. She's great at insane characters. I feel like
You,
she could do it. She's not like what I picture for like body type, but like I feel like she has the personality that
yeah,
could
I
be this
think
insane.
she could be terrific because yeah, her characterization. She can just do so many different things. I
Yeah.
wouldn't even be like Kate McKinnon could also, I think,
Yeah,
be
I was thinking of
really,
Kate McKinnon too.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, her too.
Rhea Perlman. That'd be something.
Yeah.
That would be something.
That actually is a good idea because like you don't have a lot of roles for older women. Like
Yeah.
a lot of like big memorable roles that they can just go all in with. So it probably would be better to give it to somebody who actually fits the age range for
Yeah.
Madam Mim.
Yeah.
Even like size and everything. Like she's kind of like Madam Mim's size, I would say.
Yeah, probably. What about Merlin? Who should we cast for
I know.
Merlin?
See, that's what I was thinking of too when you were talking about this. Like, who would we cast as Merlin? Just some great British actor.
Preferably
With a
somebody older.
older, yeah,
Yes.
and funny.
Because a lot of times for a lot of these things, like they cast young and hot when they don't need to be. I want some old people.
I want some old people. That's my second tag in Tinder. Bill Nye? Nah, I don't know. I don't think he has the comedic chops though.
Michael
I
Caine.
He's way too old.
I also like he's too old, but still though, that would be he'd be a rather droll Merlin. It would be actually might be it could really work.
You're only supposed to pull the sword from the bloody stone. I can't
I'm
see it.
I mean Merlin is kind of
That's good,
like
Mark.
he has a bunch of scenes where he's like kind of old and doddery and forgetful. I feel like Caine
Yeah,
could do this. Like I guess I haven't seen him super recently, so I don't know what he looks like now, but I feel like he could do this.
he's in his 90s now and he uses a cane, literally.
Oh,
So
I
I
suppose
don't know.
maybe that would be difficult for him then.
hmm I'm thinking someone more in the like 60s or 70s.
Well, because Merlin still can at least the animated when he really moves well.
Yeah,
It's not
Yeah,
like
he slides down that mountain like nothing.
well, yeah.
I would want someone like if he was still alive, like a Peter Sellers or something,
Oh,
like an old
mm,
version of Peter Sellers. But
that's
I
a
don't I
good
don't know
choice.
I don't know who fits that now.
Or they could cast somebody zany like Jim Carrey, but I don't think he's, I think it'd be better to have a Brit
I don't want
personally.
Jim Carrey. I like Jim Carrey as Jim Carrey. Like I don't. This isn't Jim Carrey. This like it's got to be goofy, but in a different goofy
Different
than Jim
kind of
Carrey.
goofy.
What Andy Serkis?
Yeah, I was wondering about Andy Serkis. Although, does he have comedic chops?
I'm sure he could.
He could because
He's pretty
he's so
talented, yeah.
talented. He'd have the grumpy part down.
An older David Tennant.
Oh,
Yeah, I could see that.
Peter
I could,
Capaldi, maybe.
I could too.
Ooh, yes.
Yes.
Peter
You
Capaldi.
know, Peter Capaldi.
There
I
we go.
think
Yeah, I
I
can see
think you
that.
Yeah.
nailed it. I can too, because I can just even picture him, even though it would be different, but kind of like a blue tunic, and the wizard's hat.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah. I like this.
Yeah, I do
There
too.
we go.
Okay,
Disney,
Disney, make
hire,
it
hire,
happen.
hire us.
Yeah,
Hire us as your
hire us for
casting
casting.
directors.
Yeah.
We talk about it between us and then we come to a consensus.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Those two are the only people that I really feel like I would have an opinion on. Everybody else is like whoever they get, meh, I don't
Yeah, they
care.
get. They're the only ones that really count, yeah.
If they ever make it, the kid who plays Arthur is probably somebody who's just a kid now that I don't even know. So
Or be a newcomer.
yeah,
Yeah.
for the movie to work, it has to have a good Merlin and a good Madame Mim.
Oh, no question.
And the CGI Archimedes. That's what they would do.
Yeah, with Peter Dinklage, right? Doing he
I
was
mean,
good. He
I
was
could
good in
totally
Wicked.
see that. I bet if they do this, I bet he's going to be Archimedes. Anyways, back to the wizard's duel.
Oh yeah, Merlin comes in all in a storm, pretty much. Just asks, ma'am, trying to find out where Arthur is.
Yeah, like I said, I love all of the characters that they turned into. And again, for a lot of the movie, I was seeing Bill Pete stuff.
Mhm.
But for whatever reason, I'm sure there was something in one of the books. When she turns into that rhino, that's a Bill Pete rhino.
Mm.
I know that there was something with a rhino in one of the books. And as soon as I saw that rhino, I was like, that's Bill Pete. And if it wasn't Bill Pete, he trained somebody really well to mimic his
Yeah, to
style.
to make his to his style. Yeah, to mimic his style.
Yeah.
Like I said, this is one of my two favorite sequences in any Disney
Oh,
film.
I'm with you. It's so great.
I just
Mhm.
love the different animals they turn into, and just clever from like a rhino and a tiger and a snake and a goat and a crab and a
Caterpillar.
caterpillar. I think my only gripe, if I have one complaint, is Merlin turns into a goat twice. I think that's a little lazy. I felt they should have made him turn to something else instead of using the goat twice. But
But he turns into a mouse twice too.
oh, does he? Okay, there we go.
I don't think I cared, but
Yeah.
That's just me being picky. But then, yeah, when she turns into a dragon and he turns into a germ, that was like, oh, that was game over.
I loved how clever it was because
Mhm.
like when she turns into the dragon, well, first of all, I loved how she got around her own rules because she had
Yes.
specifically stated no pink dragons and now she's a purple dragon.
Did I say no purple dragon? She said
Well,
that.
and she just cheats from the first second.
Yeah,
You know,
she
when they
disappears.
go when
Yeah.
they go back to back,
Yes.
and take the paces, yeah, instantly like, oh, she is not playing by the rules.
And then when she catches him, ostensibly to win, but then she literally catches him when he turns into a germ. I just thought that was really hilarious and creative.
I didn't have thought of it like that.
And don't you love like the final shot too? I mean, she's just she's covered in dots and she had like a
Yes.
thermometer in her mouth or something. She's
That that was the point where I was like, this is a Looney Tunes relationship because
yeah.
like they're supposed to be enemies, but I love that he still took care of her and put her to bed before
Like
they
put her to
left.
bed, just like and then they'll
And
do it again. They'll do it again in a little while.
Yes,
he poked a hole through her at the roof so she can get lots of sunshine.
which she hated.
I
Which is
hate
so
sunshine.
yeah, which is so perfect.
And then we never see her again.
I guess they're kind of just frenemies, maybe, right?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
And after this, I don't know how long passes because it's now winter. There's some sort of a big time jump because I think this is supposed to be like summer when they're having the wizards
And
duel.
they're doing the duel.
And now it's winter, and Kay's squire, who we've never met, has the mumps. So Arthur is reinstated as squire, and he runs off to tell Merlin, but instead of being happy for him, he's furious and screams, "Blow me to Bermuda!" and turns into a rocket ship. Or behaves like a rocket ship with sparks flying out from under his robe, and he
Yeah.
crashes through the roof and out of sight.
And he just takes off.
But Archimedes stays back, so he
Yes.
hangs out with Arthur.
Archimedes is the MVP.
Yep.
So we go to the tournament, and Arthur realizes he's left Kay's sword behind, and he has to go back to get it. But the inn where they were staying is closed, so he can't get it. And Archimedes sees the sword in the stone, which he is
Yeah.
able to easily remove after some apparently frightening choir music and glowing lights over it.
But Kay's gotta have a sword.
And then when he returns with the sword, the tournament stops, and everyone insists that he prove that he pulled the sword from the stone.
Well, I like how they recognize it first. Well, I guess they read the inscription.
Yeah. And Kay first tries to pull it out again, but he can't. So Arthur tries again, pulls it out easily.
Well, a bunch of them try, like 5 of them at one time.
Yeah. And I don't know how sincere he is at this point, but Sir Ector asks for forgiveness and then demands that Kay bow to Arthur. And then this is where I felt like the story was just getting started, but we're a couple minutes from the end. It's like, I want to know what happens after this, because it felt like everything was leading up to this, and then it just stops.
Yeah, and it's like that's when things really start to get interesting.
Yeah.
And I mean, talk about like a kind of reversal of fortune and a change in who's got the power now,
Mhm.
and they just I feel like that maybe against this decision was that's the story that we know, right? Or maybe we know more of.
Mhm.
Although I still would have liked to see Ward just kind of like dominate all those horrible people in his life. I mean, no, but I think he would have done it probably in a in a mature way, but
Yeah.
still, it's kind of unsatisfying. I mean, it's
Yeah.
fun how Merlin comes back into the picture, but other
Mhm.
than that, yeah, anticlimactic kind of in a lot of ways.
I think for me, like, I always knew or felt that this movie was about Arthur's a child, so it would end when he pulls the sword from the stone. So I never actually expected to have anything more after that scene.
I don't think I did as a kid. Like I said, like I wasn't thinking about things super critically. I just
Mhm.
watched because, well, that's how it happens. This is just the story. So I didn't think about it when I was a kid. It's just now as an adult watching it, and like, especially because like at the beginning I was into the story, and then I was bored for a while, and then annoyed for a while, and then with Madam Mim turning it around so definitively, like I love this, and I'm back in, and I've only been back in and really invested for, it feels like a very short time, and now it's over.
Like a
Really?
roller coaster of emotions.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
wanted more of these characters.
yeah,
Well, then Merlin comes back once he's king.
And you have to know, like looking back, somebody was inspired by this scene for Genie, for Aladdin. Like
oh,
it has to be.
absolutely, yeah, no question. Yep.
Yeah.
Merlin walked so Genie could fly.
Well, because everything from the wardrobe, I mean, just yeah, there's so many similarities.
Yeah,
That is
going to the
true.
future.
Yeah. It's kind of a zany way to end it too. I don't hate the ending.
Well,
You
they
know,
kind of ended it on a joke, talking about maybe someday someone will make a motion picture about him, like like almost
Yeah.
breaking the fourth wall here. And then he
yeah,
tells him it's like television but without commercials, and
So,
that's basically the end,
mhm.
yeah,
which I guess is fine for a movie that's basically been Looney Tunes
yeah,
from time to
I
time throughout the whole thing. But I still wanted more.
think as a kid, I was always happy that they made up, like Merlin and Arthur were on good terms again at the end.
Yeah,
yeah,
Merlin
yeah,
he wasn't mad at him anymore.
yeah,
I like when he's like you talk about his round table. Like, oh, would you rather have a square one?
yeah.
yeah,
You would think like during the time of the direct-to-video sequels, we would have gotten a Sword in the Stone, Sword in the Stone 2.
I mean, that does seem like kind of an obvious thing.
Yeah.
yeah. It does.
But nope, we didn't get that. We didn't get Great Mouse Detective 2. We didn't get any of the ones that seemed obvious.
This wasn't also a really a big box office success, or was it? I don't. Do you recall in your research, John? I can't remember,
I
but
mean, it
It was
wasn't
good enough.
it wasn't a bomb.
like by today's standards, I don't think it made as much money as we would think, but it made back its budget, at least according to Wikipedia, because it says budget $3 million, box office $22 million.
It's
Yeah.
triple
Okay.
already. Yeah.
So it made its money back like 6 or 7 times over. So I guess in that respect, it was a success. I don't know what the average movie at the time would pull in.
Right.
Like, is 22 million amazing? I don't know.
Right.
It doesn't feel amazing
No,
for
no.
today's standards.
Even then, I don't think that was amazing. But again, like you said, it depends on the budget too.
I mean, it's nice that they made their budget back because some movies can't even do that these days, but that's partly because of bloated movie budgets.
Yeah.
They need to figure out how movies were made back then and try and do it again because they were able to make movies on relatively small budgets.
Yeah. These shoestring budgets.
3 million is nothing to sneeze at, but like that's a tiny budget by today's standards.
Yeah.
Probably because of the special effects now. I think that's where
Yeah.
most of the budget goes into.
Yeah. Good point.
But I feel like Disney needs to set up. I mean, they have a second studio now in Canada, but like to set up a studio to do more 2D stuff and make smaller budget features. Because like you can always like I think Lilo and Stitch was one of those that had a much smaller budget. Lion King was supposed to be the picture that was not the flagship. Like Pocahontas was like the big thing, and the other studio was sent off to work on Lion King. But like if another studio or another group of people isn't given a chance to make a smaller budget film, who knows what we could be missing out on.
Yeah.
Anyways, all in all, Sword in the Stone is a mixed bag, but I'm glad it exists, and I'm glad that it gave us some iconic characters and iconic scenes. Wizard's Duel, and I mean, some people like the squirrel scene, not me, but for whatever reason, I know that the squirrel scene is often cited as one of the most memorable scenes. I don't know if it's because it traumatized people or what, but people always talk about the squirrel scene.
Let's talk about it. Yeah. Yeah.
For better or worse, they made a memorable scene. But I guess that will be all for The Sword and the Stone. We will be back probably pretty soon because we've got a couple more Disney movies that we're going to be doing. I haven't decided what we're doing next, but either Mary Poppins or The Jungle Book will be back at some point relatively soon.
Sounds good. I think one thing we should mention also is The Sword and the Stone was the last fully animated, last of Disney's animated features to be released in theaters while he was still alive.
That's true. I always think of The Jungle Book as his final film.
But he never got to see the
So
final.
like a whole year after, almost pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good point.
Yeah. I always forget that this was the last one in his lifetime.
In his lifetime, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, until we get to The Jungle Book or Mary Poppins, do you guys want to let people know where they can find you if they'd like more from you? Stanford?
Yeah. So I've got a movie blog and podcast. You can find it at moviespastandpresent.com. And you can also follow my feed on Instagram, which is at moviespap, as in past and present.
And Mark?
Yeah, thanks for having me on. It's always fun. And you could find me at theanimationcommendation.com, where I have an animation theme blog. I put some reviews, some top 13 lists, as well as a game show I run, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire Animation Edition, where I have animation-themed trivia questions, and both of these guys have been on in the past, so check that out.
It's been so much fun.
Thanks. I also have my live action Disney project at myliveactiondisneyproject.com, where I'm trying to watch and review every single theatrically released live action Disney film ever made.
Okay, well, we will see you again soon for another Disney movie. Thanks for listening to the Disney Movie Marathon. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to subscribe and follow my co-hosts as well. My Linktree and all of our links will be in the description below. If you want more of my content, all my podcasts are available on YouTube as well as most podcast platforms. If you enjoyed this show, check out one of the other podcasts or check out my Patreon for bonus and extended episodes you won't find anywhere else. We'll be back soon with another brand new episode, so thanks for listening and we'll see you next time.